What's up, everybody? It's your girl, Tiffany Nicole. How's everybody feeling today? Welcome to My Child is in Prison. And now what? Today is a special episode, and I'm super excited. And I need to pause for a second because my TV just came on. Sorry. So, Tasha, take over for a moment.
Me?
Yes, take over. My TV just came on.
I'm not a podcast host. We'll just be silent if one of you guys want to do
it. Well, thank you everybody for joining us tonight. I know Tiffany has brought us together as mothers who have been on this journey for a while, and we're all here and excited to share with you.
Sorry, you guys. I don't know. My TV just popped on. Marley, she probably sat on the remote. But I'm back, you guys. Sorry about that. Yes, I have a phenomenal panel today, y'all. I'm talking about worldwide. Listen, I'm on here with some celebrities. I don't care what nobody say, y'all celebrities. I got Tasha in the building. I got Crystal in the building. And I got Ashlyn in the building. Like, these women are a powerhouse and they are moving and shaking. And I'm thanking God every day that I know you guys. Being a mother of a child that's incarcerated, it ain't easy. But as long as you got a community and we got a community, we are a force to be reckoned with. You guys, and for you guys that's in the live chat right now, I just want to know what state you from. Put in the live chat where you're from. And this is not gonna, I want you guys, this is a Q&A. So you guys can ask the ladies questions, your concerns, the things that you feel like you can't overcome. We are here to help you. We have ladies that have their sons has been in. Tasha, I believe, has the longest 17 years.
17 years.
And then
Yeah.
Crystal, yours is I think she's frozen. Ashlyn, how long is yours?
Been a year and a half, but total incarceration probably going on 3.5 years.
Okay. And I am 5 years in. And it's been a hell of a journey. Crystal, can you hear us now? Oh, she's muted. We can't hear you.
Sorry. I am in.
Oh, your Wi-Fi is not connecting good. There we go, Crystal. Okay. All right, we have Texas in the building. We have a Colorado in the building. We have Los Angeles in the building. Woo, woo. I'm from LA too. And oh my God, you guys, we have the UK in the building. What? What? The UK is in the building. Shout out. I see Liz on here. Missouri, I see Nancy on here. Michigan. Oh my God, I'm loving this energy, you guys. I'm loving this energy in the chat. Well, let's just dive into this episode. This episode is just a girl chat. Us mamas having a conversation about the struggles that we face of having a child incarcerated and to help other mothers. That is my main goal, is to help mothers who have children that are incarcerated and not to stay stuck. And your child has a purpose, and you have a purpose. And that is the main goal, is for you to get unstuck in this situation. And so here we go. My first question is, handling that phone call you ladies received when your son said, "Mom, I'm in jail." I'm not sure if you guys got the call or if a neighbor called you guys. First, I want to know, what was your first reaction when you got that call? Tasha, you go.
Okay, so the first time I got the call, it was from my son's father, who basically called and said, "Tasha, Blake is in prison. Blake is in jail. He was arrested and his bond is $250,000. And my initial reaction was, "Why are you calling me? He ran away to be with you. You never was in his life. And so you deal with it." And I hung up.
Oh,
I hung up.
Okay. Ashlyn, what was your situation?
Well, my son's ex-girlfriend called me and said he was in jail for a charge that he was 100% guilty of doing at the time. He stayed in county jail for about 1.5 years. prior to this, he had an addiction problem, so I had cut him off completely out of my life for about 2 years, and I got the call that he was in jail. He beat that charge, and right after he beat that charge, he was blue warranted to another county for a charge that he is not guilty of, and that is why he's in prison now. So I had a whole lot of why, if I wouldn't have, should I have, you know, that was I had a lot of guilt.
The would've, should've, could've. Yes. Crystal?
So I have two that have been in and out. I think when I got the initial call for my oldest, it was relief. I knew he was alive, and that's all that mattered to me. My youngest, pretty much the same thing. I was just like, is he okay? I asked a lot of questions. I remember he was in between being, excuse me, a minor and an adult in that area. So there was lots of people that were working with him. And it was actually the juvenile that called me. And I was just like, he's alive. That's all I needed to know. I didn't care about anything else, just that he was alive.
I
See, I
got
felt,
mine. Go ahead.
yeah, I felt that as well too because of the addiction issues. I knew that either he was going to end up dead or in prison, so it was a relief for me too.
I got mine when I was walking. I got the call from him, and, he wasn't in prison yet. He was saying, "Mom, I'm about to go on the run." So I got that call. So, I knew eventually once he woulda got caught, he was gonna go to prison. It was just a matter of time. So when I got that call, I would never forget it. It was a day after Mother's Day,
Mhm.
walking, and he said, "Mom," he cried, and I cried. I remember being on the sidewalk, and since I live in LA, so they think everybody crazy, so I don't know if they thought I was homeless at the time because I just started screaming, like, super loud on the sidewalk, and people was driving by slowing down because I was just screaming, and he was just like, "You won't be able to contact me from this number anymore. I'm about to throw it away." And boom, he went ghost for about a month, and then he called, on a burner, and that's how that went, and then later on, he got picked up. That's what happened with me. In that situation, ladies, how do you handle the struggle of having a child incarcerated? Crystal, we're gonna go to you because you have 2 boys that are incarcerated. We all have one that has to be a heavy burden on you. Like, how do you manage? What do you do to get out of that funk? What are the things that you could help other mothers that's listening right now who have multiple children, that are incarcerated? Because there's about 5 people in the group that have 3 boys that are incarcerated.
Yeah, thank you, Tiffany. So it was really difficult. I did have a kiddo at home still, my middle one. And so I needed to focus on him. And being that I was relieved, I was like, okay, I have to do something more. I have to really invest in Demetrius right now. Because I was giving a lot of energy to in the moment of like, where are they? Are they okay? Which took away from Demetrius. But then I blame myself a lot. Like, it's my fault. Like, what did I do wrong? And what could I have done better? And I always came back to so I think the grounding part for me was I did the best that I could. And this is what they've chosen. They had an opportunity for a better life, but they chose this. And Demetrius, perfect example. But it was difficult. I mean, I'd cry myself to sleep. I doubted, but I also like in those times like delved more into my work and helping people. And in my career, I went back to school and I was like, there has to be something more that I can give because this hurts so bad. I didn't want to be stuck in a place of like 2 of my kids failed, like everybody's talking crap about me. I was like, I'm going to rise up. I'm going to show people what I can do in the moments of like despair. And so I just took all of that energy and went to school, still in school, helping in the community. I work with kids now that are deemed like high risk and a risk to society. So I just invested what I couldn't in my boys when they were doing their thing.
Okay, that's good. That's good. Tasha?
What's the question again? Wanted to,
It was about basically like what are the steps you took once you got that call and you processed that he's going to be going to prison for a while. And at some point, I know you were depressed. What steps did you take to get out of depression? And what do you think you could help other mothers who are in that moment right now if they just got that call? How do they get unstuck?
okay, so I didn't think my son was going to prison, right?
Okay.
My son was always very charismatic. Blake had been in film and TV and dance, and he was at an all boys school where I spent a lot of money. I have 4 boys, and so I had invested in them all. So I knew that um, for me, it was, let's see how this is going to play out, right? And my son ran away to Texas to go be with the dad he barely even knew. Um, and when I got that call from him, the first thing he said was, I need your help. You work for attorneys. And I said, well, Texas is out of my jurisdiction. I'm in New Orleans. There's nothing that I can do, and there's nothing that I'm going to do because you're 17. This is what happens when you disobey your parents. However, we're going to fast forward. The morning of of his trial, it was a
Mhm.
judge trial, not a jury trial. We opted to go to just to see the judge, and the prosecutors tore me up. They were like, he did this, he did that. He basically gave all of Blake's accolades and said, you did everything that you could possibly do. You were the problem. You did all of this, and here we are. And he didn't have this to do. And I think I just lost it. And I just, got down. It was me and my 83-year-old grandmother there. And when they said 40 years for a robbery with a toy gun, I lost it. I collapsed. And usually it takes 6 hours to drive from Texas to New Orleans. It took me about 12 because I stopped. I was throwing up. Um, I had to apologize for every parent that I once criticized. Whenever I would see kids on the news, the first thing I would say was, where are the parents? What are they doing? Why are their kids
So God
creating hate?
humbled you, huh?
Well, God put me in a population of people, right, who I criticized. And so I went home and I took every pill in my medicine cabinet. And my husband at the time found my lifeless body. And I woke up in a hospital bed. And what was so humbling was the same room my mom died in 6 months before was the
Mhm.
same room that they put me in.
Mm.
And I lost it. And my doctor came in and he said, if you don't get it together in a matter of 2 weeks, you'll be dead. And so, I mean, I just kind of would go up there and I would visit him when he was in county. 15 minutes, I would drive to
So wait, let's
Houston.
go back to what the doctor said. If you don't get it
Mhm.
together, because you have people that's commenting right now in the chat right now, and they're
He's,
asking you questions.
he's,
They want to know, like, in that moment when the doctor said that, what happened? Did something snap in your brain? Like, what happened?
it snapped. And I had 3 other boys that I had to take care of. And I said, this, and Blake called and he said, Mom, I'm so sorry. Mama, I should have listened. And I said, Blake, I mean, there's nothing that I could do. Every day I wrote the judge until they told me not to write anymore. Every day. I would go to work and I would get on our letterhead. I'm a paralegal at a law firm, and I would write the judge, hoping that he would do something. And there was nothing that he did. He was like, stop writing me these letters. His law clerk came back and she sent me an email and she said, don't write me again. Don't write the judge again. And then I started writing the attorney and I said to him, You told me that my son would get probation in lieu of prison sentence. And he said, I hope the circumstances would have been that way. However, don't call me again because I have my own guilt in this case. And so
Wow.
I dealt with that for years and years and years. And then I'm also a talent agent. As I was walking on the red carpet of this film, Straight Outta Compton, my client, who had also been in some trouble, looked at me and said, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be here. And I said, well, you shouldn't. My son should be standing here with me. And I went home, I got on that plane, and I told my husband I was going to write a book and it was going to be bestseller. And I named it Mama, I Should Have Listened, A Voice of Pain and Power. I went on national press. I spoke in prisons all around the country. And I said, I'm going to build my own community, a community of women who need me. And they need me to be vulnerable. They need to talk about my son's crime. And they need me to tell the truth. And that's what I did. I told the truth. I ask women all the time, what did we do to get here? And the
Right, but
first
hold
thing
on,
that
don't you about to
well,
go in deeper. We still got
okay,
Ashley. Ashley gotta ask
okay.
she gotta answer the question too. You about to start preaching. Hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on, Bishop Tasha. Ashley, go ahead. You got the mic, girl. Go ahead.
Okay, so mine starts about 14 years ago. My son was 9 years old, and he and my 3-year-old daughter at the time found my mother dead from a K2 overdose in our bathtub. It sent him into a complete traumatic downward spiral, as you know, obviously that would do anybody. By the age of 11, he was addicted to drugs, a confirmed gang member by the Harris County Police Department. Had spent his first time in juvenile, and they just gave him a slap on the wrist. I begged at that point in time to get help for drugs, and they kept saying, oh, no, he's too young. It's just a phase. He'll get over it. About a year later, one of his good friends was killed by 2 of their other good friends in a very, very evil crime. So again, here goes the tailspin again. By 17 years old, he had been in rehab 3 separate times to no avail. So about myself, I'm a little bit of a control freak. And every time my son would get himself into trouble, it was call mama. Mom would come bail him out. And I enabled it. I mean, I'll be honest. I enabled a lot of it because I didn't want my son in jail. I didn't want him in prison. I'm a mom. I was going to be mom, rescue ranger. So this last time I knew I couldn't get him out of it. And I had to accept, he was going to prison. I went down a very dark hole. Like Tasha, I also last Thanksgiving Day attempted my life almost successfully. And I woke up and had to realize that if I'm not here, my son has nobody. I'm the only family, me and my daughter. So I didn't even tell him what happened. He knows now. I told him about it later, but I didn't tell him anything. So what I did is I got into advocacy. I started learning about the prison system and the atrocities that are going on and how to deal with these atrocities, and just really educated myself on realistic what prison is. That way I quit getting online and seeing all these group posts and the dramatics of it. People, they raise your anxiety. They play off of a lot of parents and a lot of the prison wives and some of these groups will go and post things that are just kind of insane. And I had to learn what was real and what wasn't. So by learning the policies, by learning the laws, learning the system, it helped empower me to feel kind of like had that, not that I'm in control again, but I was enough. I educated myself to know I had some kind of power, as far as a mom having that power. I knew that I could call a warden if I need to. I knew that I could call an ombudsman. I knew the policy to push if they broke something, and it really helped me. But the kicker for me, my son is 23 years old. He quit school in the 8th grade. 8 months into his incarceration, so this past August, he graduated as valedictorian. Valedictorian. Okay. He also went from a completely non-spiritual person, gang banging, to now he's teaching Bible classes with a chaplain, has been confirmed as a Catholic. So When I went to his graduation, one of his mentors sat me down and said, Mom, you did your job. You raised a good son, because look at him now. He's clean, he's sober, he's doing what he's supposed to be doing. You need to let it go. Let whatever you have over you. He's like the dark cloud. He said he could feel just that energy off of me. He said, you need to let it go. I walked out the prison gates. I let it go. I've moved back to Texas to continue my journey. And here I am. Just started a business doing prison preparation.
Congratulations.
But okay, so what did y'all like? Okay, so what did y'all do to get out of that? Like, I went to therapy. It took me a long time and I gained 30 pounds. Did
Mm.
any of this happen to you guys? Like, Damiani was on the run, so that's the time where George Floyd was murdered. So with that being said, I thought my son was going to be next because he's a black male and he's on the run. Um, I gained over 30 pounds. I've never been that heavy in my life. I was like 160, 65. So I was cussing out my family members. If my family listening, sorry. I apologize to them so many times because I cussed everybody out in Jesus' name. Like I was a cussing machine. So I was just angry. So what did you guys do to get unstuck? Anybody can chime in.
I became a certified trauma informed peer counselor because I
Okay.
wanted my own traumas, and it kind of opened the door for me to help other people, because I never wanted anybody to feel as sad and depressed and anxiety ridden to the point where they had to attempt their life or take their life. I'd never want anybody to feel that again. So being able to reach out and help others going through similar things really has saved my life. It humbled me.
Mm. Tasha?
Um,
I got into extensive therapy.
Okay.
Extensive therapy. I went to therapy for about 5 years.
Mhm.
And I found a therapist who had served prison time, because no one
Mm.
could tell you um, how to deal with this unless you've experienced it, right?
Mhm.
So for me to go to a therapist who didn't experience it, that was doing myself a disservice, because they couldn't relate and I needed someone to relate. And once he related to me, I wanted to be relatable to other mothers. And so that's why I wrote the book.
Mm.
I
Crystal?
went to therapy. I had been in therapy years prior. And so therapy, good sex with whoever, whenever, right? Anything that as a woman, we didn't have to feel until I realized I was selling myself short to buffer um,
That's
the
true.
pain. Because yeah, we can go, and when we're in the moment with somebody, we don't have to think about anything. But when we go home, we have to think about our kids. Their pictures are there. Their, art hanging on the fridge. And knowing that what I would hear from my kids is, this isn't your fault, Mom. But I couldn't do anything to save them. So I looked for ways to save myself. And I've always worked with people, but this just really pushed me like to a point that I wouldn't be spiraling into that place that you other ladies have talked about. I've been there long before my kids got into trouble. So I knew life had something more in store for me. And I thought that because I'm here today.
You have a question in the chat asking, someone stated, how do you stop blaming yourself? Anybody can answer. You have 3 people that actually posted that saying, how do you stop blaming yourself for your child being in prison?
For me, it was I had to realize it was his choices and not mine. I raised him to know right from wrong. And I had to really finally take the control of myself to say, hey, he made these choices. I didn't make these for him.
Okay. Tasha, look like you about to say something.
I always give unpopular opinions. And so, Crystal, you want to go first?
Go ahead.
You can go ahead.
Well, I can say mine.
Yes.
Mine was okay. So I kind of walk on the edge with my son. So I did not all okay. So the first time I know Ashlyn, you said like you were saving your son from trouble. I did not. The first time I did, the second time I was upset. and I still got him out because the first time he was in high school, the second time he was an adult. But this third time, I said, "You on your own." I know a lot of mothers think that's crazy because I let him go in the situation. The bail was it was he needed no the he needed $30,000 for the lawyer. And my family and we already came out of 10,000 for the first lawyer. And I said to myself, "Self, am I gonna mess up my credit report and my credit score? Am I gonna have this debt over my shoulder? Not only my own debt that I have." So these are the things I kept asking myself, but I didn't raise you to do this. So unfortunately, I said, Damiani, you on your own. And I know that's probably harsh for people that's listening right now on this live. I literally let him go. And I just trusted God in that moment, just like Moses' mama, she let Moses go. Jebecca, that was her name. She let him go. And she didn't know which way she was gonna go with the situation, but she just trusted God enough, and I trusted God enough, and he figured it out, y'all. And now he's just somebody different. And sometimes you do gotta let go of these kids, and they're young adult kids too. They're not like little. And I think that's where we get torn at. But that's just me how I'm not saying to y'all to drop y'all kids, but this is just me with my son. I had to drop his ass. Sorry. I just had to I just had to. That's just me. But it worked out.
Yes, I was just like you, Tiffany. I had told my kids growing up, like, I'm not bailing you out. So like I didn't at any of their times when they would call me. I was kind of a hard ass like that as a mom because just the way I grew up. And it was like, if you go to jail, like, you know what's going to get you there. The only time I bonded or placed a bond that my son would not get out on was to have him transferred to a safer jail, or maybe not even safer at that point. It was county, so he could get his main charge that he's in prison for now, the trial and everything going, because they wouldn't do anything. They wouldn't go see him there from the other county, anything. So I paid $300 so that they would transfer him so that he could get that case moving. But they knew right from wrong from the beginning. They were taught it, they saw it, and when they went out and did the crap that they did, they knew what was coming for them.
It's true. Tasha?
So I'm gonna always give an unpopular opinion, and everybody may not agree with me, but it's just me. I blamed everybody else but myself for a long time. And as I was writing the book, my son writes me a letter. And he says, "Dear Mom," he said, "it took me 40 years for you to leave your husband after I told him some of the things that you were doing. Your loyalty is as long as St. Charles Avenue. You have given me everything that you possibly could, but there are some things that you missed." And I'm not writing this book anymore because people are going to blame me. And I'm just, it wasn't my fault. It wasn't, I didn't do anything. I gave him the best that I possibly could. He went to private school. He did all these extracurricular activities. Why am I now going to sit in guilt? But to be honest with you guys, guilt was good because it allowed me to feel, and it allowed me to really look deep into myself. So the first thing I asked women, because I'm working on a documentary right now where we interview 25 women across the country. April is one of them that's in the group. She has her own platform. But I interviewed 25 moms, and the first thing I asked them was, how did we get here? And nobody could answer that question. But we all had similar circumstances. And someone said to me, how did you get here? And I think they were being smart. And I said, I could tell you how I got here. I was a 17-year-old uneducated mother who wanted to go out and have a baby for a drug dealer. And this is what we brought into this world. He had been in prison. His dad had been in prison, and his dad had been in prison.
Mm.
And so all those DNA, that DNA was going through my son's veins. It didn't matter that he had 3 brothers and they were all living in the same household. His 3 brothers are college graduates now. None of that mattered. What mattered was I decided to not do due diligence on his family. And this was a byproduct of what I had done. Had I did something differently, had I dated differently, had I dated up, had I did my due diligence on this family, we would not be here.
Oh yeah, this
We
is where
would
me and
not,
Tasha debate about this. We debate about this
yeah,
conversation.
we would not be here. And it's funny because I did a radio show, and it was an all Caucasian radio show. And this lady calls in. 70 people, 70% agreed with me and 30% didn't. And this lady said to me, she said, this lady just answered my question. She said, my 2 oldest sons are attorneys. Their dad died. She said, I went out and I got married again to someone who was addicted to drugs. And I had a baby with him. And at 2 years old, 2 years old, his dad died of an overdose, and he never knew his father. And he said, at 15, my son died of an overdose. And when I wrote that in a book, and I went to San Quentin to talk about it in Folsom State in California, one guy looked at me and he said, I never believed in God until I read that genetics versus environmental chapter. He said, because my dad went to prison when I was 1. I never knew my father, but then I went to prison when my daughter was 1, and my daughter's just paroling out. And he said, you helped me find God, because I had to read up in the Bible on generational dysfunction and generational curse. And so that's when I stuck there. I sat in that guilt. And it wasn't that I was blaming myself, but I had to feel, and I had to feel where he was coming from. And so all the women that I did interview, the kids' fathers were not in their lives. And that is an important intricate of everything here. When you take a father out the home, you destroy the family.
But there are cases that the people in a group that has a husband and the mother in the household from the same parents, and the mama and the daddy didn't go to jail, and the child ended up still
And
going to
that's what I'm
jail.
saying. That's just my opinion. And
Yeah,
that's
I know. This is where y'all. This is where we heard. Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, I came from an upper middle class family, and my parents told me not to date a drug dealer, and I went out and I did it anyway. But I'm gonna tell you something. God knew what he was doing when he placed this in my life, because he knew we had talent, and he knew this would be the byproduct of it. Me going around the country speaking on how I chose to feel.
Right. Crystal, look like you about to say something, because I saw you moving you was moving your
Yeah,
feet.
so I'm just thinking that for me, I was a very young mom. So my oldest, I had when I was just a month or 2 over 15. So I was a baby having a baby. And it happens. Things happen to us that lead us into those places. The one thing that I do know and I hold tight, or not so tight, but I hold tight in my memory, is that I was told I was going to be a welfare case by my family because I was 15. And I was like, no, I refuse to be all of that. I refuse to be what you want me to be. Mainly my dad and my dad's side of the family. But at 15, my body wasn't ready. My mind wasn't ready. And then bringing a baby into the world through that conception of, he was maybe a year older than me. Yeah, I think my oldest was kind of just set up to fail because nobody taught me. Well, be careful. And then my other son who's in prison, I actually married their dad, and that was because family pushed that. right? You have kids, you marry him, you stay there. And I didn't stay. It wasn't worth my boys seeing me get beat and knowing that they would repeat that pattern um, by a male. So I left their dad. But I think to what you're saying, it generational, right? And we don't talk enough about that. We don't talk enough about that and how we can heal. We can even heal our kids now. We can heal our grandkids. Changing those narratives that we were taught.
And I see someone in a comment said there's purposes in all. And there is. Like, we all are sitting on this platform and we've built a community. Tiffany, you have built a community of women who are just like you, right?
Mm.
And so the world needs to hear that every family can't be perfect. No family can be perfect, right? But we have to give out what God has given us. And so sometimes that's not pretty. That doesn't look the way that we expect it to look. Of course, I wanted to, to give him everything, but that everything cost me as well. And so now here I am. I live and I breathe this. I breathe
Mhm.
this. I breathe talking women off of the ledge. Because when something happens to your child, you just want to go AWire, right? But if
That's true.
God can give this to me and can allow me to go out and talk to other people, other mothers or people that's in prison and just share my story and be vulnerable, that's all that's how I repay him.
Right. Have any of you ladies had a situation where you didn't get to hear your son's voice because they were in solitary confinement, or has any of your sons have been attacked in prison? Because I received a message about that. Like, how do you handle where you don't get to talk to your child for a certain amount of period of time? Has anybody had this situation happen to them?
Absolutely. Blake was in
Mm-mm-mm.
solitary,
Okay.
on, got on drugs, and I had people extorting me. And so the first thing you do is when that happens, well, when I didn't know any better, I was kind of sending cash apps, paying them off, until I'm like, no, I'm not doing that anymore. He's going in protective custody. He went in protective custody, solitary in Texas, and I didn't hear from him for about 2 months. I mean, I can still visit. I mean, it was behind a glass, but yeah, that was really rough. But it also again gave me a period of time to just think and look further into myself and who I really was and who I wanted him to be.
Ashlyn,
My
I
son
see you
also went through
nodding. Yep. Go ahead. Yeah.
yeah, my a similar situation to when he first went into TDCJ because he was young and kind of dumb and didn't know the rules of the game and got into drugs again there, um, and owed some money. And so he was being extorted as well. They actually started extorting me for even months after I got it taken care of and had him moved and put into a different program where so the whole time was probably about 2 weeks of no communication. But at the very beginning of your child's incarceration, where you're already scared to death, it was probably the worst 2 weeks of my life. And that's actually the time period where I attempted to take my life. It was very hard.
Mhm. You mentioned something too. I know Crystal offline we've spoke about this, and Natasha, you said something too about your child, the Cash App and the drugs in prison. There's quite a few mothers in here that have sons and daughters. Because I don't want to leave out the daughters too, because we have people that have daughters in prison too, which I hear the prisons for the daughter is worse than men. That's what I've been told by other people that's in the group. Do you guys? Can you touch on like the drugs in the prison and your child's addiction, and what do you do in that situation? Do you continue to keep sending the cash app? Like, when do you say, you know what, no more cash app, I'm done sending you money?
Mm, 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 mm.
Well, Texas right now actually say the word Cash App. Go to, I mean, it's not good for them, and you can go to jail if you get caught sending money.
Mm.
Like they'll
Oh, see, I
charge
didn't
you.
know that. Oh, I had no
I
idea.
don't for a while I did it. And then I remember I had a guy that called me and he wanted $2,000. And I said it would be cheaper to send him home in a body bag. I said, and I'm calling the FBI. And I never heard from him again. I got Blake moved. I do not recommend sending cash apps, sending anyone outside of the prison other than what you know, um, unless it's going strictly on his book. I do not send cash apps. I don't send money. I don't send any of that to anyone outside of that prison because all that is for drugs and gambling. Don't believe your kid if they tell you anything else.
Mm.
A question asks, how can you go to jail if you send someone money? One of my mothers that's in my documentary, they shut her Cash App down because in 1 month she sent $17,500 because they knew she was wealthy.
Wow. Crystal?
So
We
this was
lost
something.
Ashlyn. I don't know what happened. Her screen went black. Did you guys see that?
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
Um,
Sorry.
So this was something new to me in the last few years. My oldest son, when he went to jail, he never called for anything. Never, never, never. And so I was kind of naive, like, oh, okay, and there's drugs in there. Okay. So, and I kind of heard it from my youngest. He, saying things. He didn't tell me up front. He told my husband that he had started shooting up in there. And then he would call me and freaking out, crying, like, I can't do this anymore. They're going to take me out. They have all kinds of terms. I still don't know all of them. And of course I'm like, oh, this is my baby. Like, I can't let him die in there. He didn't die on the street. He's not dying in prison. So I'm guilty of, bailing him out. I'm getting the calls again 3 months later, the same thing. And finally I had to say no more. No more. I did what I did in my life for you already. I've helped you out. I've gotten you out of trouble. But if you don't change it now, you're never going to change.
No, that was weird.
Go ahead, Crystal.
So I made it very clear. We stopped sending cash apps. We've deleted our platforms, and it's only money for their on their books now. They get food. They fed 3 times a day. I feel like they have what they need, and my money now I can spend on me. So spoil yourselves, mama.
Yes. Ashlyn, can you relate to that? I know you got off, but now you're back on. Not sure what happened. About the Cash App or any type of addiction. Has your son have been addicted to anything since he's been incarcerated? And how have you handled that situation?
At the very beginning, I believe he was starting to smoke K2 again, and like I said, it was very short lived, about 2 weeks, because I got smart to it pretty fast. And he actually, towards the end of it, was being upfront with me about what was going on. And so I put a stop to it. But I did. I mean, I sent money. I shouldn't have. I knew better. But again, that's where that enabling control came back into play, where it just, I thought I was doing the right thing, but I wasn't at all. I mean, I wasn't at all. And I would never, ever suggest anybody to do it again.
Well, how did you catch on to it? Because I heard you said you caught on to it. Like, what was it, mother
He told
instinct,
me.
your gut feeling?
He
He
told
actually
me.
okay. He actually
told me.
told you.
Mhm.
Oh, okay. And what was your reaction?
So I told him no more. I had an inkling of what was going on, because at first it was, okay, so I'm new to prison. I can't go to commissary yet. I'm going to, can you send $20 to so-and-so so I can buy some food or whatever. And that was becoming more and more and more frequent, like every other day. And then it was, hey, they're going to do a 3-way phone call for me because I don't have my phone rights yet. And it was just a habit. So finally, one day I was like, look, what's going on? And he wouldn't tell me, but he called me about 5 o'clock in the morning one day in a panic. and basically said, Mom, if you don't send these people $600 by today at 2 o'clock, they're going to kill me. So I mean, he had to be honest.
Okay. So, did you send the $600?
No, I called the OIG's office.
Okay. So let the mothers know, because there's a lot of people that are sending their children this amount of money. What are the key things they should look for in
Yes.
their son or daughter's voice, or the things that they're saying? Because I've never had this happen, so I don't know. Because I don't know.
Frequency of the payments. I'm going to tell you right now, the number one excuses I hear from so many families I work with is they need to buy store from people, or it's to pay for a 3-way phone call, or they're buying shoes off of somebody. Like that doesn't be. Um, you know your child. You know how they speak. You know their mannerisms. You know their past. You know if they have addiction problems. You know when your child's not right.
Ashlyn, your screen went black.
And you know, and you have that mother's intuition has to kick in.
Hey, Ashlyn, your screen went black. We can't see you. I don't know if she can't hear me. Crystal, you want to say something to that?
I don't know that I knew with my youngest. So I think for me it was when he finally admitted, because I don't know if it was denial, I don't know what, but it's hard to tell with our kids who are in there and life's changing, things are happening, people are coming in and out, you know, the cells are changing, to really know, is this they're doing something or are they super stressed? And I think for me, just like shutting it down, advocating, if your kid went into prison with a drug addiction problem, advocating that they get treatment for it in there. Because I've done that. I went all the way to the top. And my son was put on Suboxone finally.
And what are the steps mothers should take by advocating for their son if they have addiction?
So I needed initially an ROI saying that medical could talk to me.
And what's the ROI?
A release of information.
Okay.
So we did an ROI. I communicated to the headquarters. I talked to medical. I have a history in medical. And so I pulled out all of my knowledge. I also pulled out policy that says if somebody comes in with a substance abuse addiction in Colorado, that the MAP program should be offered to them. And ultimately, I did also threaten with a lawsuit.
Okay. Okay. Oh, and someone put gambling too. They have a question mark about gambling. I'm not, some of these things I can't touch on because Damiani hasn't called just for me to do that. It's always just been centered on regular books. So I know, Crystal, you have this. I don't know, Tasha, have you had this situation too where your son got addicted to anything or gambling problems?
He got addicted to gambling. They were betting on games. And so they do a lot of that in prison. So if you do get that call saying, oh, you know, and it comes frequently, you know, I need you to send so-and-so $25. I need you to send so-and-so $50. It's always somebody outside the prison, their sister or their brother, their mom or their dad. And that's how they're making their money. So yeah, he did. And Blake had to kick that habit on his own because I said no more. And eventually he did. But you also have to understand that for the mothers in here that's new to this, it's a transition for them, right? And so they don't know, especially if you've never been in prison before, like my son, you're trying to survive. You're really trying to survive in there. So you're going to do almost what you have to do to survive. You're going to fight. You're going to gamble. You're going to get on drugs because you want to be the cool person. You don't want to be the person that's standing out, right? So ultimately there are some things that's going to happen that's out of your control. But when you say, hey, no more, I'm not doing this, that
Yep.
they will kick that habit, and then they will learn to grow up. Blake has been in 17 years. And probably the first 7 years, I had to put up with this until I said no more, no more.
Mm.
I feel
Now,
like
did that
So it's a
did that br
grown
did that break you?
person.
Did that break you to
Oh,
tell your son no more? Okay.
absolutely. I didn't start doing advocacy until probably Blake's 10th year. So I was sitting with this for a long time. I was dealing with this for a while. And then when I really started, my whole focus was the mothers. So that's who I started working with, and I'm going to say working for, because I was advocating them. And then when I went on the Breakfast Club and spoke about my book, mothers start calling me, reaching out to me from all over the country, because they wanted to know what could they do to get to this place of healing. And to be honest with you, you never really heal. You
Mhm.
never really heal.
That's true. That's true. We have a question here. It says, "Does anyone get a call to put money on their books for a special celebration like around Christmas?"
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. Put it on their books
Yes.
and don't send it to anyone else.
Yes. So, y'all that's in the chat, no Cash App. Do not send Cash App. You got mamas right here that's on this live telling you about the Cash App. I don't know anything about the Cash App. That's why I got somebody else that knows more about this, because I don't. And also I know Ashlyn mentioned the K2. That is very big. And so I know Crystal can relate to that too. That's very huge in the prison. It's funny how can we just talk about how the COs be
Mm.
bringing in stuff into the prison? Because how do they come up? How do these inmates get all this stuff unless
The
somebody
Uh,
from the
CO,
outside coming in?
the
oh my
CO,
gosh.
Can we have a conversation about them? Like, let's go. Like, how does the correctional officers, like, y'all supposed to be doing your job, but y'all coming in with all this stuff?
the
That's where those
COs,
cash
the wardens, the COs and the wardens. That's how all
Mm.
that
Y'all,
stuff is. I don't know if you ever saw that movie. I can't think of the name of it, but the warden was bringing drugs in. They would have a steak night, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was like once a week. And he would bring steaks in the prison for for the correctional officers,
Mm-hmm.
but he would be hiding drugs through the steaks. And one
house.
of, I don't use the word inmate, it's freedom challenge men, because I don't want nobody calling my son an inmate. He would bring the steaks in through the meat, and one of the freedom challenge men ratted on him. And that's how he got caught. But it's
Wow.
all coming in from the outside, from the wardens and the
yes.
correctional officers.
Yeah.
Ashlyn, you
Well,
look like you
just
got a lot to say. Go ahead, girl. You look like you got a lot.
so just in Texas, in the last month, we've had 49, 50 officers arrested. 50 for contraband.
Do y'all hear this in the chat? Do y'all hear she said 50? I need you to repeat that again. Go.
50, 50.
Have been arrested.
Yes,
In what
50
state?
officers have been arrested. Texas.
Mm.
Yes. That is wild.
Yep. I
Tasha,
think
look like you
we,
about to, oh, go ahead, Crystal. Go ahead.
oh, just like I've seen it with my own eyes that they are in it. And this is in Colorado. Um, a sergeant talking with a family in a visit behind me. Um, they let her go out of the visit for about 45 minutes, the girl that was visiting, while the sergeant stayed talking to the gentleman and come back. Like, if that would have been me, they would have said no.
Right.
But during
Because
that
once
time,
you're
my
in
son,
there, you can't go anywhere, correct? Okay.
I don't know, it depends. But then my son did say that the girl had passed something over to the guy, and the sergeant was sitting right there. I had to leave. I couldn't stay, but I also couldn't tell. That's the other part, is we may know, but I know here my son is like, Mom, you can't. Don't say nothing. Don't make a show, nothing, because they will off me.
And they may mess with your son too in prison.
Yeah. And so that's where it's extremely scary that if we see something like that and know exactly what guard or sergeant or that is bringing it in, that we balance, like, for me anyhow, I balance, like, do I want to get the call from them that my son is no longer, or do I want to wait and let a case build up against this agency that wants to take our kids down? Because I could tell you at the end of the day, and my true believing and my true thoughts and in my heart, there is a fine line between a cop and a criminal. And that I see every day with my son. Every day in there. And
Absolutely.
yeah.
What do y'all do when y'all have y'all moments when y'all miss y'all child? Do y'all break down and now want to come outside? Like, what do y'all do? Because Tasha, 17 years. Girl, that is a long time. And you look fabulous and you push it and everything. Like, what is you? First of all, what moisturizer you got on? Because your skin look good. Okay, let me focus. Okay, sorry.
I just came from a prison exhibit where I had to speak.
Mm.
I break down a lot. Just the other day, this was so crazy. I'm driving, and in my rearview mirror, I could see my son as a child playing basketball and in dancing school, and I just broke down. But what gives me courage is helping other people, right? And knowing that my son is doing well and he's going to be coming home. So when I keep my eye on the prize and not what they're doing in the prison system, um, that helps me a lot. That helps me a lot. When Blake calls too much, though, it bothers me. I hate getting those calls all day. I'm like, I have to work. I have things to do. I can't. I can't talk to you all day like this. So, you know,
Oh,
as it
Crystal can
gets,
relate to that.
as it gets, it is the truth. For my new moms, as you get into this longer and the longer they're in there, you'll kind of get the ropes going. You'll have, you start getting conditioned with this environment, right? But I mean, I talk to Blake at least 4 times a week, and we laugh, we cry, he'll tell me what's going on. Mom, your health is okay. So we'll talk about positive things, positive things, his childhood things. So let them remember the good times and talk about their childhood. Talk to them if you could send newspaper ads, or let them see what's going on in the neighborhood. Let them know that they're still a part of this environment, because that helps them out a lot. And they need lots and lots of letters, lots and lots of letters and books.
Yes. Crystal, you look like you was about to say something.
As you were talking, my son does that same thing. He will call me, especially my youngest. Like, he is so needy. I'm like, boy, if you use your neediness that you have now when you were out, God, life would have been good. But I sometimes I'm like, I can't talk to you. I cannot talk to you. I recently blocked him because I am like, you are becoming your father, and you will not abuse me. It's a real thing, mamas. Sometimes we have to stop them before they stop us.
True. Ashlyn, here's a question in the chat. People are asking, what do you tell your friends or family members? Probably most likely because your family probably already knows where your child is at. But like, if you ran into an old high school friend or someone that you just ran into and are like, "Oh, how's the family? How's your kids?" How do you feel about telling that person that your son is in daughter? Do you feel embarrassed? And if you're not embarrassed, give some steps and some pointers for people who are embarrassed. Because there's a lady that asked that question in the chat.
Don't
So
be.
for me, it depends on who it is. Sadly, because my son grew up in and out of juvenile hall, and it was kind of expected for him to go to prison at some point. Um, it just depends on who it is I'm talking to. A lot of times, it's always embarrassing to tell them. It's more disappointing, and I feel judged for it. But I'll tell them that he's in prison,
In the
or
beginning
I
or
just
now? You still feel embarrassed now?
I still, I mean, both, from the
Okay.
beginning. But I'm very transparent because most people that
Okay.
know my child know me. They know that it's expected. I mean, he's been wilding out since he was little, y'all. Like, I mean, really.
Okay.
And so for the embarrassment for me, I've had to kind of realize that people are going to judge no matter what. My best friends, my family, whoever, everybody's going to have a preconceived notion. If I can walk away and be okay and happy knowing what I'm doing every day and that I still support my child, I had to just kind of accept the fact that people are going to judge me no matter what. And I can only live my life in the best way possible and kind of show that, this is what it is.
I don't feel embarrassed, and in the beginning, I did 'cause the community that I come from a very well-known community. My family's very well known in the city that I grew up in, and I'm a Chicago girl, and I was very well known in Chicago. Um, I n so in the beginning, I did, but now I don't care. Child, they talked about Jesus, so if they talked about Jesus, I know they're gonna talk about me. So I could care less what people say about me. So I don't feel embarrassed. People ask me where my son is at because everybody's talking about like, "Oh, my daughter's in college. My child is here. My child just graduated from Harvard." Congratulations to your child. I'm happy for your child, but I'm also happy where my child is at too. I know that sounds crazy, but I think if my child it was free, I think I'd be having a different conversation with you. I think I'd be at the cemetery. I really believe that in my heart of hearts. I believe that I'll be at the cemetery. And I know that prison is changing my son for the better. And at the end of the day, like Tasha mentioned, the good, the bad, all of this works together for your good. So I feel free. A burden is lifted. I don't care. You can Google my son's case. You can Google it. I don't even care anymore because now, like, he's gonna be free pretty soon, and he's going to be somebody different. Just because this one path of his story had him go to prison, that is not defining for the rest of his life. And I think a lot of mothers need to understand that just because your son is incarcerated or your daughter is in prison, that does not define he or she. You still have a whole life ahead of you. And the devil wants you to feel stuck and unbelief and just miserable and depressed. No, we got to get that out of our heads. The devil is not, no, it's God. All things work together for the good of them that love God, and God stands on the throne. How do you not know your child being in that 8 by 10 cell that God is protecting that your daughter or your son? How do you know that God is shaping them for a platform that's larger than you can even imagine? How do you not know you pray for your child or daughter to be somebody of greatness, but unfortunately, when you prayed that prayer, you didn't know it was going to go. He or she had to go to prison. We don't know that. We just don't know what God's plans are when it comes to our kids. Like Tasha's son's been gone for 18, 17 years. We don't know what Blake's next step is when those prison doors open. He could be I mean, wait, he can't be the president because he's a convicted
Let me
felon.
tell y'all something. I shouted it out to the world. Look at this. Wait, y'all can't see it.
It's a glare. We gotta
I
we okay. What she said? What she got on the screen, y'all?
I put up a big billboard on St. Charles Avenue that
Okay.
says, "Mama, I should have listened." A big
Okay.
billboard. The
Okay, Tasha,
whole
send that to me so I can put it in the chat. Go ahead.
the whole world knew what I had gone through, right? And I was glad that they did. They were walking up to me in church saying I was a celebrity. They were walking up to me in the grocery store saying, "That's your billboard on St. Charles. That's your billboard on Poydras. That's your billboard." Yeah, because it started to be, I knew I had created, this was an evolution for me, right? They knew my son. They knew he had been on TV. They knew I was a talent agent. So I needed to let them know what was going on so you can try to save your own kids. Because let me tell y'all something. This for my new mothers, this new generation. I spoke about this on a platform, and there wasn't a dry eye in a place. I said, you know what? When you're sitting at the table and you're trying to climb up the corporate ladder, right? You're on social media. You're not, you can hear your kids, but are you really listening to them? Half of the time we're not, because we're so worried about doing what we want to do. We're worried about doing our things, then and trying to just make an impact on the world, not knowing what's going on in our own homes. This destroyed these kids. So when people say, where are the parents? A lot of times, where are the parents? So God allows things to happen in each and every one of our lives because of something that we didn't do correctly. Me, again, I told y'all what I didn't do correctly. And again, I also was trying to move up the corporate ladder. So there are some things that I missed. And so what
Well,
are
we
the
always gonna miss things though. No one,
exactly?
yeah,
So now we have to correct those things. And if we can help another mother correct these things, we will be living on a much better society.
right. Yeah, I'm thinking about that. I'm thinking.
Think about it. It's
Because I
so
don't know what you can say to another mother beside like, oh, well, if you have to work, like for example, people that's like a single parent, you got to work two jobs, but you can't be at home with your child. Because I think that played a part where like I wasn't home all the time because I had to work. Like you have that situation that occurs with mothers because they think like I work too many jobs, and that's the reason why my son ended up, drifting off, going to the streets. Because while I was at work, he was in the streets, and then he ended up in prison, or he or she. So how do you prevent that situation?
well, why you don't have someone that's taking care of them?
Financial reasons.
So you can't just leave. A lot of people are leaving their kids home, and this is why a lot of these things are happening.
But you have to
We
do
just
what you
have
gotta
to
do
be
because
true to
how do you
ourselves.
control that? How do you
So then
control
it
that though?
becomes so then it becomes our fault again,
I disagree with you on that. I don't think it
because
becomes our
we could
fault.
have prevented that.
I don't think so. I don't agree with that one. I think like because if you have to work a job, you got to put a roof over their head. You can't, and you're a single mom. How do you be able to be
And
at home and
again, that's what I said about the fathers being in a home. This is how God gets our attention.
But I think like I kind of want to challenge some of this because like I think that one, like God doesn't intend for us as women of a temple to stay with people or a man who's going to beat us and show our kids that.
No, you're
And also,
absolutely right. And
and
so it
also
goes
I
goes
go ahead.
back to we have to choose better.
True. My other part though is that we also live in a society and systems that are made to break us women from taking care of our kids, from our education, from jobs. We live in a system that tries to break women all the way down, even if mom and dad are in the home. And so I think like this is a bigger issue than just us moms. When a single mom is working really hard, our systems perpetuate the cliff effect and keep people in poverty
And
and do those things, which affect our kids.
and you know what? It does affect us, Crystal. And I'm going back to me, what works for me. I love you, but I just don't agree with that. Because again, if we choose better and we plan our lives out better, I just hate when people say sometimes, we don't necessarily, you have people work 3 jobs, 4 jobs, but they have someone taking care of their kids who they respect and they honor. And these things are not happening. Then you have some people like me who it did happen to, and I only worked 1 job. So I don't think society is breaking women down. I think women are here to build up our community. That's what I think. So I don't put the blame on that. I don't.
So
Well,
I
I
don't
don't put the
believe.
blame on anybody because I believe that
Yeah.
at the end of the day, God knew which way we was gonna go. I still think no matter what, because at the end of the day, it's not about a mistake. I don't want us to go like it's a mistake that you did or blaming that you did. I truly believe that all things work together. No matter God knew we was gonna go left. God
And
knew I
it
was gonna be a
does.
single mama. God knew at the end of the day, at the end of the on the other side, God gets the victory and it's gonna all work together. It doesn't matter about mistakes because hell, we all make mistakes. You know what I'm saying? Only person that I know personally to make a mistake is Jesus. Mary made a mistake raising Jesus. Mary made a mistake too. So it's like I think that we should be focused on like more of like, okay, this is what happened, but it's all gonna work to good for the good. Like your son's on a billboard, Tasha. We have no idea what
He's
God's
not
gonna
on
do
the
with him.
billboard. I'm on the billboard
Oh, you're on the
because I
billboard.
wanted to let mothers know what
Yeah,
I
you're on
had
the billboard.
gone
Sorry about that.
through so that I could
Yeah,
help someone else so they wouldn't make the same mistake.
right. Right. Yeah. So I lost Ashlyn again, but before we get out of this live, you guys have been great. I love this. And you guys in the chat, y'all been popping in this chat, baby. Look at this. Like Elizabeth, I see you. I see you, Ellie. And I see you, Jackie, too. And Angelina, you've been in here for real. She's been asking all types of questions. Everybody's saying you guys are amazing and they love you guys and they love the honesty and transparency that you guys are giving. So I love that. So one thing I do want us to get away from this live as mothers with kids that are incarcerated that we are wait, we have a question. I wonder if Mary blamed herself. She probably did blame herself, Liz. She did. I'm just saying. Mary wasn't perfect. Only Jesus was. But what I want to say is like before we get out of this live, you guys were great. Do we like to say something, end with something for the mothers? How do they from listening to this live, what are the 3 things they can take away from becoming unstuck, walking into their woman power as a mother, and saying no to the Cash App? Or just saying no, period, when your child keeps calling 700 times? Anybody can go. I know Ashlyn stepped out. Oh, Kate's on here. Hey, Kate, girl. Hey. She said, love you, Kate.
I
Love you
just
too, Liz. Go ahead.
say no. Say no. Because I know a part of what got my son here is I gave too much.
Someone put that in the chat. Someone
You,
said, I gave my son too much. Yeah.
too
Mm,
much. Too
because we
much.
didn't because we didn't know we didn't have what yeah. Um, yeah, I
Say
would say
no.
this. Fi find a journal, find a journal and write out your emotions, your feelings, whatever you want in that moment. Just do what you need to do with the journal. And I would also find a deeper relationship with God because I'm going back to my scripture. Uh though you slay me, I still trust you. I'm counting it all joy. The good, the bad, the ugly is all gonna work together for my good. And I'm standing on what God told me. And I know I pushed out greatness. Unfortunately, he had to go left, but a lot of people in the Bible went to prison. Jesus was in jail too, y'all. He got arrested too. So he ended up. So just because your child is incarcerated does not mean anything. Your child still has something great on them. And I truly strongly believe that. And that's the one thing in exercise. I believe in, taking that extra walk around the block mentally. Sometimes we start eating and we just we're not healthy, high cholesterol, being diabetic. I just want to say to the mothers, maintain your health, drink enough water. And Jesus' first miracle is wine. But I'm just saying. But for real though, y'all, peace, meditate, and don't let this consume you as a mother because God has purpose and greatness within you. God has something in you. I don't know what that is because I'm not a prophet, but I truly believe that there's something great wrapped up into you. Crystal, go ahead.
I think realizing that our kids are in a safe place, they're not dead, is huge. I live with that every day. Also knowing that this was planned before it all happened for them. I think taking care of myself, learning to love who I am as a person, helping the community, and fostering relationships.
And live, guys. Live.
Mm-hmm.
This is not the end of the world. Live. Take vacations. Don't stop living because your child is in prison. Live. I'm the vacation queen,
Oh
and
yeah, she go on vacation every quarter.
I do it because I have to, because this can be so overwhelming. Live, learn to say no, and love them the best way that you know how. And
Yes. Well,
feel,
thank
allow
yes.
yourself to feel. Give yourself permission to feel and cry. And that's what will continue to get you through.
And forgive yourself, right?
Yep.
Forgive yourself. Forgive yourself. That guilt that we have on our shoulders, forgive yourself, mamas.
And believe that it's a
Ladies,
part of God's plan.
amen. Yes. All things work together for the good of them that love who are called according to God's purpose. Y'all, Jesus. When I tell you, y'all, if y'all don't know, y'all need to read the story about Moses and his mama. They really don't give you. I had to go and dive in deep on that part. I'm stuck on this story about her, about letting Moses go. And look who Moses ended up becoming, the greatest of all time. But you guys, thank you for this chat. I love you guys. I love this pod. This was a great podcast episode. And you guys, oh yeah, where can the ladies find you? Tasha has a book on Amazon. I put it in the chat. Tasha, go ahead and give people your info so they can
I have
find
a
you.
documentary that's coming out. You can look at the trailer. The website is www.unheardproductions.com. And a lot of people in the group are in this documentary, and it'll come out probably in the next 8 months. We're in post production, and you can also find me on social media: Instagram at Mama I Knew Better, and Facebook it's Tasha Smith Mills.
And Crystal?
So my Instagram is Gail Crystal 03.
Perfect. And you guys know where to find me. My Child is in Prison Now What podcast and my YouTube channel. You guys were phenomenal. I love the energy in the chat. You guys, we're gonna have more lives like this again. Again, you guys have an amazing day and remember to put God first, and you're not alone. No mother walks alone on this journey. We are here with you. We have Tasha, we have Crystal. We lost Ashlyn, but she's still here. You can find her as well. Again, she's doing a lot for her community too. You guys, we love you and God bless you guys. And you guys have a good night.
Bye.